The four horsemen described in chapter 6 of Revelation are already beginning to show signs of their presence. Just look at the last 5 years of the world and you will see signs of its arrival and the effects they have on earth. The book of Revelation gives us a vision of the future. No other book is as analyzed and debated as Revelation. Many churches avoid talking about him or even try to discredit him. This already tells us something important about the apocalypse. I believe Revelation is so contested for 2 reasons. First, it reveals Jesus Christ in a unique way unlike any other book in the Bible. He does not show Jesus as a baby in a manger, but as the living being, the all-powerful, the one who holds the keys to death and hell. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel and stay up to date with all our daily videos. The book of Revelation talks about Jesus in a way that no other book in the Bible does. If you want to know more about Jesus, read Revelation. It shows Jesus as the Son of the living God and also reveals the future. I believe with all my heart that what is written in Revelation is beginning to happen right before our eyes. We are living at the beginning of what is yet to come. One of the most interesting and prophetic parts of Revelation is the vision of the 4 horsemen. John, the author of the book, had a vision of 4 horsemen who represent different aspects of the end times. They are called the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. In chapter 6, verse 1, it is written, "Then I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, 'Come and see.' Each seal opening symbolized a type of judgment, and the first 4 seals featured the horsemen, who caused different disasters on earth. Subscribe to our channel and stay up to date with everything that happens on our channel. Imagine that you are reading an incredible story and, suddenly, a knight appears on a white horse. In chapter 6, verse 2 of Revelation, it is written, "And I looked, and I saw a white horse. He that sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer." This horseman is often called the Antichrist or false Messiah. He appears to deceive people and keep them away from the one true God. This horseman represents the spirit of deception that will be everywhere in the end times, when many people will be led to believe lies. Jesus warned about this in chapter 13, verses 5 to 6 of Mark. "And Jesus answered and began to say, 'Take heed that no man deceive you. Many shall come in my name, saying, I am he, and they shall deceive many.' The Antichrist will come pretending to be good and just, but in reality he will be lying to turn people away from God and lead them to follow him. When we hear about the Antichrist, we think of violence, the mark of the beast, and coercion. But we need to understand that he will use many lies and tricks to deceive people. Imagine that you are listening to an exciting story. At the beginning, a knight appears on a white horse, looking very good. Some people think he is Jesus the Conqueror because he wears a crown and rides a white horse, as Jesus does in Revelation chapter 19. But, if we look closely, there are important differences between these 2 knights. In chapter 6 of Revelation, the white knight is not Jesus. He seems good at first, bringing people together, but then he turns against them. This knight is actually the Antichrist, who deceives people and brings many problems. The Bible clearly says that when Jesus returns, it will be at the end of a very difficult time, called the tribulation, and he will bring 1,000 years of peace, called the millennial kingdom. But the white knight of chapter 6 brings chaos and disaster, showing that he is not Jesus, but the Antichrist, coming to deceive and cause suffering. It's no surprise that the Antichrist looks like Jesus, because Satan loves to make fake imitations. Let's talk now about the second knight. In Revelation, chapter 6, verses 3 to 4, it is written, "When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, 'Come and see.' And another horse came out, red as fire. To the rider was given power to take the peace of the land and to make people kill each other. And he was given a great sword. This second rider, on the red horse, brings war and bloodshed." We can see the effects of this night in the world today, with wars and conflicts happening in various parts of the planet. Nations fight nations, families fight each other, and people fight each other. War has been part of human history since the first murder between 2 brothers in the book of Genesis, and it will play an important role in the end times. In Luke, chapter 21, verses 9 to 10, Jesus says, When you hear of wars and revolts, do not be afraid. These things must happen first, but the end will not come immediately. This shows that although wars are scary, they are part of what is to come before the end. Let's talk about the third horseman now. In Revelation, chapter 6, verses 5 to 6, it is written, "When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, 'Come and see.' I looked and I saw a black horse. This rider held scales in his hand. And I heard a voice say, 'A pint of wheat for a denarius, and 3 pints of barley for a denarius, but do not harm the oil and the wine.'" This third rider, on the black horse, brings famine and economic collapse. In the Bible, the color black is associated with hunger. For example, in Jeremiah, chapter 14, verses 1 to 2, it says, "The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the drought. Judah weeps, and her gates are cast down. They mourn to the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem went up." When the third seal was opened, John saw this black horse. The knight held a scale, which symbolizes the scarcity of food and rising prices. This means there will be difficult times, where people will have difficulty obtaining food. Let's talk about the third horseman, the one with the black horse. In Revelation, chapter 6, verses 5 to 6, he appears bringing hunger and economic problems. The black horse symbolizes famine, a terrible judgment from God that will take place in the last days, especially during the Great Tribulation. The knight held a scale, showing that there will be a time when people will have to measure their food carefully, not out of choice, but because of extreme food shortages. This means that a person will have to work all day just to get enough food for themselves for one day. Many Bible scholars believe these verses are talking about inflation. Inflation is when money loses value over time, causing the prices of things to increase. When the Bible says, "A liter of wheat for a denarius and 3 liters of barley for a denarius," it is showing that food prices will rise a lot, making everything more expensive and difficult to buy. Let's talk more about the black horse rider. In Revelation, chapter 6, verses 5 to 6, the Bible describes very high prices, about 12 times more than normal. This means that a person would have to work a whole day just to buy the ingredients to make a loaf of bread. This shows a time of famine, where people will only have the bare minimum to survive. The phrase, "do not harm the oil and wine," means that some luxurious things will still be available to those who can afford them. In Matthew, chapter 24, verses 12 to 13, it is written, "And because wickedness abounds, the love of many will grow cold. But he who endures to the end will be saved." The third horseman reminds us how fragile our world is and how easily our basic needs can be taken away. He warns us that hunger and poverty will increase in difficult economic times. When the economy is bad, people often blame the government and leaders. But many don't realize that this could be a sign that the prophecies are being fulfilled. As Christians, we must be compassionate and generous to those who suffer from hunger and poverty. We must love our neighbors as ourselves and use our resources to help those in need. However, when the third seal is opened, it will be the opposite. The third horseman will bring hard times, and no one will have anything to share with others. Now, let's talk about the fourth horseman. In Revelation, chapter 6, verses 7 to 8, it is written, "When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, 'Come and see.' I looked and I saw a pale horse. His rider was called Death, and Hades followed him. They were given power over a quarter of the earth to kill with sword, famine, plagues, and the wild animals of the earth. This fourth rider, on the pale horse, brings death and destruction. John saw 2 figures on that horse, Death and Hades. Earlier in Revelation, we see that the one who holds the keys to death and hell is Jesus Christ. In chapter 1, verse 18, Jesus says, "I am he who lives. I was dead, but now I am alive forever and ever, and I have the keys of death and Hades." These 4 horsemen represent some of the most serious problems we face today. Are they getting closer? We need to be prepared for Jesus' return by living in a way that honors God as we prepare for his arrival.